What's up, guys? You are here with Eric Wallin and Fight City Gym Talk. Today, our guest is
Viliami Fili. I just go by Vili though.
okay,
Easier.
Vili. We've got some goals. We've talked about some goals. We've had some good conversations, you and I. What's your biggest goal right now, as far as let's just hit it right on the head? Weight loss.
Weight loss, definitely. To get right now, I'm currently at 540. I came in at 560.
Yeah.
My goal is to get down about around the 240, 260 range.
So if you add that up, you say you're at, sorry, say it again. You're what?
Currently, I'm at 540.
Okay. And we could possibly, and he started at 5. So to clear the math up, I'll say it real quick. He started originally at 560. Goal to get down to 260.
Correct.
That'd be a total of 300 pounds.
Yeah.
You've already lost 20.
Correct.
Man. Okay, so we're going to get you 300 pounds down.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And the coolest thing is like, when this happens, you will have something to brag about that basically next to nobody else can brag about. People that like me, like, oh, I lost 30 pounds one time. Dime a dozen. All over. But most people don't ever lose more than like 50, 60 pounds total, ever.
True.
So you have put yourself in a position where you can do something that next to nobody else has ever done before. I don't think it's a world record or anything, but I don't know. Personally, I don't know if I know anyone that's lost more than 150.
Yeah.
I know 2 or 3 people that have lost 100. And that's it.
Mm.
So you're on the verge of doing something incredible.
Nice. Thanks for putting it that way. I never thought about it that way. So
yeah. And it's really, and that's, I'm kind of a sucker for that. I have this personality that it's like, I would rather do something that no one's ever done before than do something that I already know is fun and cool. I know it sounds weird, but like, I would rather hike a hike that no one's ever hiked and see nothing than hike a hike that someone hikes every day, all day, millions of people a year see it, and I'm just seeing the same thing that everybody else has seen a million times over.
yeah.
I don't know. So when I think about you doing something completely rare, a 300-pound weight loss, like, I think that's awesome. I don't know. I'm just the type of guy that likes to do and accomplish things that not a lot of other people have done.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I got into MMA and wrestling and boxing, and you know what I mean? Because not a lot of people have done all those things before. So right now, you've lost 20 pounds. What diets have worked? What diets have not worked? What's kind of some of your success right now?
I think I used to have a nutritionist,
Okay.
and then I couldn't afford him. But what it was basically, I mean, when you get to as big as I am, right, it's a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
And we don't realize. I mean, you really, if you're my size Polynesians, right? I'm Tongan, part Samoan. We don't really, nobody. Well, in obesity, you don't track what you're eating.
Yeah.
You're just a lot of it's compulsive eating.
Yep.
Emotional eating.
I bored eat.
Bored eat. Yeah.
I'm sitting around the house like, oh, I'm bored. Nothing on TV. I'm not hungry. I'm bored. I'll make another sandwich. I got ice cream. If I had ice cream, I'd love to sit and throw down on some ice cream.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm a bored eater. So
I know with having a plan and then executing that plan has worked the best for me. It was funny when I had my nutritionist, the scale was a lie detector.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I would tell him I did great, and then we'd go weigh in, and because the plan I was on with him was about 2,300 calories.
Yeah.
And so, and I ended up like I'd be either a pound over or didn't lose at all, and we'd go back in the office and have that tough conversation.
Yeah.
But I think it all breaks down to being disciplined.
Right.
And I mean, you're a fighter, you guys go through that's like just crazy training and stuff when you're preparing for a fight. So I think my fight with obesity is in the I can come at it at the same way of like having to prepare for it, working out, and I also got gout. So like if you guys can see here, these two fingers, I can make a fist here, but can't really hear the gout. So I mean, Eric knows I did. Eventually, I will want to be like a vegan.
Yeah,
that's my goal. Just because gout has made me bedridden.
And I know very little about gout. Something to crystallizing in your joints or something?
So the purines, which are in food, purine-rich foods, mainly red meats, shell foods. So basically everything you see at a luau.
Yeah.
And that's what we eat, So that stuff goes in the body and a regular body will excrete it or urinate it out.
Okay.
Where mine will keep it in there, and then what happens is it goes into the joints as a liquid, and then it crystallizes around each of the joints. And it starts in the bunion. I've had it in every joint, elbow, wrist.
Now, is there a recovery process such as changing your diet, working out, losing weight? Does that make it eventually go away? Or is it something you got to kind of figure out how to live with, deal with?
Changing your diet. I mean, if you go to the doctors, they'll tell you, I feel strongly that doctors are tied to the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh, buddy. Absolutely. But we can get on that another time.
That's a whole nother topic. And that was my own experience. They were always playing around with different meds, but
yeah,
I firmly believe it could be cured by what you're eating.
Yeah. Okay.
What you're putting into your body. And so it's crazy because like I'll run into people when I tell them that, and they're tripping. They're like, because protein automatically is meat, tied in marketing wise, right?
Yep.
And I told them, I was like, man, I've been down that road. I was like, because of gout, I had to venture out and say because that was the cycle. I'd eat meat, I drink soda because the high fructose corn syrup, sugar, processed foods, all of that high in sugar is going to give me a bad gout attack. And so gout in a way was a blessing because it put me in a position. And the crazy thing, I'm the only person I know that has come back from gout.
Really?
That bad. Usually you keep taking the pills that it's going to ruin your kidney and your liver, that you get dialysis or it causes diabetes.
Right.
And then you just end up passing away.
Just it's a death sentence.
Yeah. And
that's crazy.
My dad passed away in 2017. I was 27.
How old was your dad?
He was 52.
Yeah. So scary stuff.
That was a wake up call. And I just remember you being a member, just praying, praying. And I always knew
member is lingo for member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, correct. And it was always the word of wisdom. That was always my answer was the word of wisdom. And I noticed because there was a time where I was vegetarian, just really strict, and I seen the blessings of it.
Right.
And it was crazy. I got smacked by this piece of wood, and it was red from here to here, and it was one of those hits that was it's gonna bruise.
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning and it was gone. But that was when I was on the vegetarian.
There's here's the thing. Now, I say this in my family a lot, right? Let's say someone in my family, brother, sister, mom, is like, oh, I got this, I get this, I got that. And I say, well, I know how to fix that. And they always laugh and say yeah, what are you going to tell me? Work out and exercise and eat right? Yeah. and the answer is to be yeah, I probably would fix it. And in the little weight that I lost, like I say, I'm bragging about my 30 pounds, right? I've lost 30 pounds before. It was little things. And I was a truck mechanic, a diesel truck mechanic at the time, big semis, Kenworth's Peterbilts.
Oh, nice.
And we have to climb on top of those trucks to get to the motors. We have to lift the hoods. They're big, heavy. Long story short, it's a pretty physical job. And when I lost that when I was 30 pounds heavy, overweight, 230 pounds, getting onto the trucks was a pain in the butt. Coming down, it was hurting my knees and hips. And then when I lost the weight, I was just jumping up those trucks, jumping off those trucks. It wasn't hurting my knees, wasn't hurting my hips. I was waking up with no issues, just jump right out of bed, get right to work. When I was heavier, it was hard to get out of bed. And then once I got out of bed, it was just this constant fight to drag me to work, drag me to get the job done, drag me off my chair I don't know. So I saw 1,000 little things that got better after I lost just 30 pounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for a guy like yourself, I think, dude, you are going to be a whole new man. It's going to be a whole new life. You're going to see things and do things that you haven't done since you're maybe a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I haven't played basketball. You know, we have a church ball at our churches. We have gyms, and I'm dying to play, but I beat my knees up so bad that I know it's not the smart thing to do.
Right. And I think you already told me your age. What was your age again?
32.
You're 32. Okay, so 32 years old. And here's the other thing. Your dad died at 52.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought to think that you might only have 20 years left if you don't change your ways.
Yeah. I knew I had sleep apnea, but I never had insurance.
Yeah.
So I would, like, in my dreams, I'd die being suffocated,
right,
drowning or whatever it was. But I would do you do like that deep, heavy breathing, you know, or like you either, and you hold it. And then so I would have headaches because of that. And I was just,
Right.
you know, I should be dead because, you know, sleep apnea is a real thing. Fortunately, you know, I'm still here. So,
and that's the other thing that you got to consider. If you get down to your target weight of 240, 50, or 60, just that, let's just say under 300 pounds, your life expectancy is going to go through the roof. Which, kids?
No, I just got a girlfriend though.
Girlfriend? Yeah. I mean, when we start thinking about family, it's like, man, you'll be able to, kids, grandkids, be around for them, and that kind of setting yourself up for generational success, where you're showing your kids like, hey, this is something I overcame, this is something I did, and this is something I was able to accomplish, and so they can brag. My dad or this guy, lost 300 pounds. Now all of a sudden you become an inspiration, versus the other one is you let it overcome you. You're a ticking time bomb as far as when death could encroach. And now then it turns into this, like, I knew a guy, couldn't get his weight under control, died at 40, 50, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's a scary thought, real scary thought. So let's get to know you a little bit. We've talked about weight loss goals. I always like to talk about spiritual, mental, physical, financial stuff. Where does mental toughness come in? Mental success, mental stability. How is that going to help you get through this?
I think that's a huge part. That's whether I get out of bed, and making that decision, to following the plan, executing the plan. I think mental is huge, and for me, I respect mental a lot because there was a time where, when I was bedridden from gout, my gout got so bad I was bedridden for months, or I would get my gout attack would come and it'd stay. I'd be bedridden. I needed help, being wiped.
Yeah.
I literally gout made me experience my 80s.
Wow.
So I feel sorry for people that are bedridden because I was there.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in my room and I can hear people in the living room. My family, at the time, my brother and his wife was living in our house, and my mom, but they're going to work. So they check on me, they check on me before they go. But I was dying for that conversation, social life. Cause but in that moment, I knew physically I wasn't there. So I had to work on my mental.
Yeah.
So that a time would come where my mental was already up here. So it was my physical that needed to catch up.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, I'm at that stage where I'm trying to catch up. My physical, my mental state is good. Granted, a lot of stuff I did go through and just traumatic experiences. Even getting to the point of like depression, of like thinking about suicide.
Yeah.
Right. And so like overcoming that mentally and being here and knowing physically where I was, I was even lower, but now I feel like I'm here, and now I'm trying to match that. And I feel when it matches, right, so the 250, whatever it is, or under 300, when I get there, I think the marriage of those two is going to be powerful.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And I always say mental and physical toughness, and mental toughness, because like my 100% belief is our bodies are far stronger, far more durable, far more capable than our mind. So if you know anything about shooting, a lot of times guys will go buy $1,000 gun, put $1,000 scope on it, and they still can't hit very good at 500 plus yards. Well, it's not the gun or the scope's fault. because the $1,000 gun, the $1,000 scope is very capable. It's the shooter. It's the shooter's problem. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I feel like our bodies are that way. I feel like our bodies are extremely capable, but our mind breaks down before our body is really ready to break down.
Yeah.
And I also say durable because our bodies are so capable of recovery. We can really put our bodies through all sorts of trials, problems, health, and we go back to like say something like smoking cigarettes. Like someone can smoke cigarettes all day, every day for 10 years and then quit. And in 10 years, they put a ton of trauma on their lungs and their body. And then when they quit, it's almost as if it never happened.
Yeah.
Our bodies are insanely resilient and can recover from all sorts of awful things. Yet we sometimes don't give our bodies a chance
to
but,
do so. Yeah.
But if you ask me, it's mentally.
Yeah.
And mentally, going back to like when I say people in my family complain about something, I say, well, if you ate right and you worked out, that little thing would probably go away.
Mhm.
But when I say our bodies are resilient, it's like, man, if we treat them right, and you're talking about going vegan, right?
Mhm. Eventually, that's the goal.
Yeah. And I don't know much about vegans. I do know. We'll get back. We've talked about the church a little bit. If you're LDS, you know the phrase I'm talking about. Eat meat sparingly.
Mhm.
I mean, like if we get our diets in check, where we're giving good, high nutrition, wholesome foods, and we're also, I think sugar is as bad as a drug, to be honest with
Oh
you.
yeah.
And the reason I say sugar is as bad as a drug is it's even like sneakier because like you feed your kids sugar, right? The whole family has sugar after a meal for dessert. Like sugars, everybody's got a soda that has sugar.
Mhm.
So it's even like it's sneakier. Like you don't just let your kids smoke pot. Some people might. I wouldn't. But
Yeah.
like it's like
It's
almost
not a go-to.
it's an unacceptable thing almost.
Yeah.
And so at least you're like telling your kids, don't smoke cigarettes, don't drink alcohol, don't. But like when it comes to sugar, it's completely acceptable. And all of a sudden, and the reason I say it's so bad because maybe because I work at a gym, I see so many people like their number one issue is sugar.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for sugar, if we go back to the good old days, so I'm kind of on a rant right now, but if we go on to the good old days where it's like sugar was actually kind of hard to come by, right? You'd have to find a beehive or some sugar cane. Like sugar wasn't just anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
And so our diet was used to not having a whole lot of sugar in it. And now our diet is just bombarded with sugar. And diabetes and obesity is now plaguing our society. So anyway,
So
that's
true.
why I go on and on and on about like, yeah, wholesome diet, eat meat sparingly, grains, fruits, vegetables, well diet, high nutrition, and next thing you know, I guess I mean there's sugars in fruit, but the thing about sugars in fruit is that fruit is full of vitamins and minerals. So you're
Yeah.
getting something with the sugar, unlike our soda pop, which is just pure sugar.
Yeah. And you got the natural sugar and the refined.
Yeah.
That you'll find in the pop.
Yeah.
And I mean, just I'll say, you know, I'm a product
Uh-huh.
Of sugars, of meat and stuff. Because people trip when they're like, "Wait, what?" You know. And I tell them like, you know, like you know, oh, who was that? LeVar from Reading Rainbow. He said, "Don't take my word for it." You know. So I sit there and I say, "Knock me all you want. This is my life.
Yeah.
I've experienced this. I've seen the byproducts. I was the byproduct of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to be the byproduct of something else.
Yes.
Vegetables, healthy eating, because I've seen what it's done to it robbed my 20s.
Yeah.
You know, robbed 10 years of my life, and it was bad. And I don't want the rest of my life to be like that. And why I make that switch. And like the mental game is huge, you know. Mm-hmm. Like there were times where when I had gout, like whether I was laying down or whatever, like it was like, so this is what it was, right? Going to use the restroom and like needing to hold, like when you need to go, when you wake up in the morning, it's easy to just jump out of bed and go.
Yeah.
But like when you got those pains, that's going to trigger you to even just go.
Yeah.
And so like the mental game was like even to another level, you know?
Wow.
And the pain that I felt from gout, like my threshold is up there, you know?
Wow, that's crazy.
So like, and I feel like mentally I had to put myself in that state where people have given up in the past, to where they succumb to just, okay, the meds.
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep taking the meds. Next, you know, they go in and they're like, oh, you have dialysis because you have kidney failure.
Oh man.
And so it's a crazy trip, you know.
Well, yeah. I always say this to people. Let's talk about, say, like an amputee, someone who got their leg cut off, and they can think back to the days when they used to have that leg, and they can think like, man, when I had my leg, I could run, I could jump, I could get up on things, I could go on hikes. Like, life was good. And now I either have to have a prosthetic or I have to have a crutch. Maybe it's another condition might put someone in a wheelchair. If you were to take an amputee and say, hey, we can actually have a full recovery. We could actually grow your leg back. But all we need you to do if you want your leg back is diet and exercise. Count your calories, your carbs, stuff like that. And if we do it right, your leg will grow back. Now, of course, that doesn't happen. But what I'm saying is, if you had someone that was missing a limb, and there was a path to full recovery on getting that limb back, would they do it? I think no doubt in my mind they would do it.
To get that back for sure.
To be like, oh my gosh, you're telling me all I got to do, eat right, work hard, work out regularly, keep my diet consistent for a long period of time, and don't eat sugar or something, and my leg will grow back. They'd be like, yeah, sugar's gone. I want my leg back.
When do I start?
You know what I mean? And we go back to, like, say, cancer or something, right? Let's say you find out you have cancer, and someone says, well, we can get that cancer to go away. Like, just eat right, work hard, diet, get sugar and all the things that are causing this out of your diet, and your cancer will go away. A lot of people would just be like, hey, wait, that's all I got to do? Cancer's gone.
Yeah.
And the thing is, obesity is that way. Because obesity keeps you from running, keeps you from jumping, going on hikes. Obesity will kill you in early age. And so in my mind, I always kind of think like it's funny that this thing that is so detrimental to America as a whole, there's an easy cure for it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that there is an easy cure for this thing. And so it boils down to what we were talking about earlier, which is just mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason someone would let this overtake them is they mentally can't. I got to have the sugar. I got to eat this meat. I got to eat while I'm bored. If I don't eat while I'm bored, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? So,
and for me, I feel like that's where gout was a blessing.
Yeah.
Because it caused pain.
Right.
So now I'm starting to question it. Or starting to think. And even there was a point where my brother would be like, dude, why the heck you eating that?
Yeah.
You already know what's going to happen. He's saying that because I'm the one calling him, hey, man, can you help me? Yeah. Can you come lift me up? Can you help me wipe? That's crazy, right? I'm 25 over there. I'm on crutches. And my mom or my brother has to help me wipe because whether it's in the knees or the elbow, I can't reach back there. So
do you have a food trigger?
Shrimp.
No, I'm talking like situation where like you like shrimp though.
I used to.
No, the food trigger I'm talking about is when this happens, you just can't help yourself. You have to eat.
Like,
so, but I'll give you an example. My food trigger is a road trip.
Okay.
I sit down in a car, I drive for more than 20, 30 minutes. I want to eat something. Especially if I know it's going to be an hour or two drive. I got to stop at a gas station and get a bunch of junk food.
Yeah. I mean, I think it used to be the lure just to fast foods.
Okay.
So
like just you're driving.
As I'm driving and it's like you smell it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just that bored eating for me was that. That was because when you're not when you're not as active, you're gonna be cooped up.
Yeah.
And so then you're thinking, oh, I just ate, but what else is there to do?
Yeah. So we got fast food's a trigger.
Yeah.
Have you put things in place to make sure that doesn't become a problem? Like, are things where you're like, okay, so I don't eat fast food anymore because I now do this.
Yeah. Well, I'm more disciplined now.
Yeah.
Fast food, but that was what my triggers were.
So that's behind you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm in a lot better place than I was. So the spider bite. Mm-hmm. So I was doing great. So December before the spider bite, I'm working out October to
let me
November.
just clear it. Like, you got bit by a black widow.
Yeah.
Right on your leg. Got all huge. Got all infected. It was nasty.
It was bad. But before that, I was at 490. Wow. I was at 490 in December. I was excited. You know, back in December, I'm looking at this month and I'm thinking I'm hitting my goals.
Yeah.
I'm at least 420 or less.
Right.
Or three. I was thinking I'll be by 320 because just the route I was going. I was vegetarian then.
Yeah.
Then I got bit by the spider, and I was taking almost 8,000 milligrams of antibiotics. So the doctor told me I had to eat. The pharmacist told me I had to eat with each meal. Like, they told me to get a full meal in so it wouldn't mess up my stomach.
Right.
And it just, man, it set me back, you know?
Now you have justified eating.
Yeah. So I got out of it.
Yeah.
And then I went right back to it.
Yeah. And it's
orders.
Justified, so I'm just going to keep eating.
So it was crazy. And then that caused another gout attack.
Right.
So
that's rough, man.
I think I had one bad one and then just two smaller ones.
Right.
And then as I was tapering back to trying to get away from that. So, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, as a part of life, last year I suffered more than just that. So it was able to push me further, get me past the spider bite.
Wow, that's crazy. So we've talked about, I'm trying to think. We've talked about physical. We touched on mental. We haven't touched on spiritual yet, and that's going to be a big one. But real quick, financial. What are your career goals? What are you doing right now for work? Where are you at financially?
Financially, I have two jobs. Luckily,
and what are they?
They're in the group homes. So I work for group homes, fostering agencies type of stuff.
Wow, that's awesome.
So luckily, it came in clutch when I needed it because I could still have gout and still be there.
Yeah.
It was painful, but I was like making food, giving them their meds. And then it allowed me to be there and work, get paid, pay bills, and still, as I work through trying to get healthy.
Right.
And really just stick to my goals. And so that's where I'm currently at.
Right.
I'm looking to start my own group homes.
Really?
Yeah. So that's one of the goals.
That's incredible. I mean, I want to pick your brain on that, but that might be for another time. But is that stuff typically state funded, or how does this work?
Yeah. So if you're licensed, when you have a licensed group home, the clients will come from the state. There's like a pool,
right?
And then you can almost choose. I mean, you see their profiles,
right?
And then you decide, you know, do you want to take that client on?
No kidding.
So like with the agencies, you can either have a group home. Well, you can have both. You can do a group home, and then you can place clients like with the what do they call them? Host homes.
Got it.
So like if somebody wanted to do like a foster kid with special needs,
right?
You'd find the home, make sure that everything was up to par, fire extinguishers, smoke alarms.
Got it.
Place the kid there, and then you get a cut from that. The family gets a cut, but it all comes from the state.
Right. So and a lot of people don't see how physical and financial tie together, but in my mind, owning a business, I know that like before I even get to work, I'm always running errands for the business.
Yeah.
And so it's like in my mind, I just think, or I don't know how many times I've had to climb up on ladders, jump over things, climb under things, and just do like regular routine maintenance around here because something breaks or is shot. So in my mind, as you say you want to start your own group home, right?
Yeah.
I think like, okay, that's an easy job, sit back, hang out with the kids. But it's like, no, like you're going to have constant problems. And if you've got your weight under control, you're jumping up on that ladder, crawling under that thing and fixing it yourself. And you're saving yourself a ton of money.
Yeah.
Versus you can't. So what do? We're on the phone calling a guy. We're on the phone calling a guy, which is way more expensive than watching YouTube and being like, oh, I get that part on Amazon and do it myself. And all of a sudden, the cost of your business plummets because you're physically capable of doing all the little ticky-tack things that otherwise you got to pay professionals to do.
Yeah, to do yourself.
Yeah, and I do that all the time. I'm constantly on YouTube. How do I fix this? How do I install this? How do I do that?
Yeah.
And I become my own maintenance guy.
Nice.
So with that being said, I can just see that's just a great example of how you're the physical well-being will help you financially to get this going.
No, definitely.
And
I always looked at like physical and financial as this analogy, right?
Mm.
So like for me, because I'm bigger, I'm more prone to be like a couch potato.
Yeah.
Right. An opportunity comes knocking at the door or rings the bell, right? I'm gonna sit there and be like, who else is gonna answer that? Right.
Yeah.
Or it's gonna take me longer to get up. By the time I get there, they're gone.
Yeah.
Because I was a couch potato, because of being obese, because the gout, because it was just harder to get off the chair.
Absolutely.
Other than if I was healthy, right? First ring, first knock, pop off the chair, or I probably wouldn't even have been in the chair.
Yeah.
You know, so
well, and for me, when I was a mechanic and I was 30 pounds heavy, when I was 30 pounds heavy, I wasn't as good as a mechanic, right? It took me longer to get up on the truck. It took me longer to get down off the truck. I was less excited to get off my chair to get on the truck in the first place, looking for excuses to honestly just not work. And I wasn't even that much overweight.
That's the truth, though. That's the truth, though.
And then I lose the weight. And the truth of the matter was, I became a better mechanic. I didn't like learn more, know more. I was just more excited to jump on the truck, get the project done, get the next project in. So long story short, for me, it was just a simple 30 pounds and I'm a better employee, which means more likely to get a promotion, more likely to get a raise, more likely to have another company looking at me like, I want that guy to come work for us.
Yeah.
And so basically, I see physical and financial intertwined big time. And I don't think a lot of people kind of put that together, but it absolutely ties together. Okay, so we haven't talked about spiritual yet. And I've been kind of holding off talking about it, but I most people don't see this. Spiritual and physical are intertwined, and no one could convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
Big time.
Yeah. Give me some examples.
Big time. I when I'm not following the spiritual guidelines, such as Doctrine and Covenant Section 89, I would say I've already felt the repercussions of not going that way. And all it was following the spirit.
Yeah.
Right. If you think about McDonald's buffets, Snickers, that's all worldly stuff.
Absolutely.
Right. And I mean, not to go too deep, but this is why I want to become a vegan, is because I think about Adam and Eve back in the Garden of Eden, right? In the scriptures, right? Bible too, it says that there was only vegetation, fruits of vegetation. Yeah. So to me, I feel like that's for me as an individual.
If I don't quote me on this, if I remember right, there's something in the Genesis that says, "Of every tree thou shalt freely eat." I hope I'm saying it right. But of every tree, thou shalt freely eat, except for the one, but of every tree. So basically, all these trees and berries are just spontaneously producing, and Adam and Eve, free range, just go eat whatever you want, whatever you need. Of course, we had the tree of good and evil that they couldn't eat from. But with that being said, eating from the trees is very, as you ask me, wise,
beneficial, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go back to, I didn't eat from the trees,
right?
And I reaped what I sowed there.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. You know, I don't want that for my kids.
Right.
I call it the fat gene. I want to change that. You know, like my brother, he has 4 kids, one on the way. We're second generation in a way. You know, he was all American. He went the JUCO route though, and it never happened for him. So for us, it's like, what can we do better for the next generation?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and I know obesity for us was something that just held us back, and so. And spiritually, right, on a side note, I had my first girlfriend at the age of 32, right?
Oh,
Crazy.
Really?
We met through the YSA.
First girlfriend?
Yeah, dude. And a lot of that was because of my weight, my insecurities, limiting beliefs. I mean, a lot of people told me I was a handsome dude. I know a lot of girls.
There's a lot of people telling me I'm a handsome dude.
I mean, like, I didn't believe it though. People told me I hated my voice for a long time.
Right.
But people would ask me, "Hey, do you sing?" Or like, "You have an announcer voice?" But finally, I met this girl. Shout out to Amanda Garrett, love you, babe. But it was cool because she fell in love with me before she knew I was trying to work out.
Yeah.
So that's a huge support for me.
That's big time.
And so she comes in, and that's just a wave of support that I appreciate.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I need at the time. So to say it's spiritual, to me, I feel that's a spiritual blessing.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Just her and the support. And it was funny because we're studying the Old Testament and Come Follow Me. January we read about in the Bible where it says it's not meet for man to be alone.
Yeah.
I never felt so lonely.
and there's a lot of truth to that. Like, we as men are weird, we're perverted, we're very selfish and greedy.
Yeah.
It takes a woman to just be like, hey,
come and tune us up,
settle down.
Yeah.
Like, just don't be dumb, don't rush, don't get mad, and kind of honestly help us with goals. Like, I wish I could take a whole 30 minutes on this, but I'll just say it briefly. Before I met my wife, my life was a scatter. I was pretty good at fighting, and I had gotten another gym established, but like, I just didn't have any momentum. I didn't have anything going in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, after I met my wife, we put our heads together on how to improve our situation, and I've improved my situation tenfold since I met my wife. And her and I, we've been married. I got a 3-year-old, so we've been married for probably 4 years, nice. Give or take. We were dating maybe a year before we got married. So the fact is, like, I guess I've probably known her my wife and I, Karen, love you, babe. We've been married known each other for about 5, maybe 6 years now.
Nice.
Anyway,
Thank you, Karen.
The amount of progression I've gone through in the last 5 or 6 years is 10 times what I did from the age of, like, when I got off my mission at like 21 till probably 33. You know what I mean? So from age 21 to 33, I didn't get hardly anything done.
Yeah.
And in the last 5 or 6 years I've been with my wife, I've gotten an insane amount of stuff done. Dang. So shout out to the women that keep us men in the right direction, Amen. Accomplishing good things. And to all you other women who don't, because I also hear those stories of women who ruin guys' lives. So
easily go the other way.
Thanks for nothing. But I want to talk. So a lot of people, you've mentioned Doctrine and Covenants, section 89.
Yeah.
Okay. Doctrine and Covenants, section 89. If you guys don't know, I'm just going to throw down on it real quick. Joseph Smith, receiving revelation from the Lord, and in receiving revelation from the Lord came up with Doctrine and Covenants, section 89, which is a law of health. And so a lot of people might say, like, how come people of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints don't drink, don't smoke, don't drink coffee, and whatever else? And it's that Doctrine and Covenants, section 89.
Yeah.
I just want to go ahead.
And that's not a commandment. Like it's not something that we have. It's a standard.
Yeah.
So it's optional.
Yep.
And for me, I wasn't choosing it for the longest time.
Well, I hope I've quoted a lot of scripture today. I hope I'm quoting them right. If not, leave comments why I said it right, why I said it wrong. But in Doctrine and Covenants, section 89, it says, this is for the weakest of saints.
Yeah.
The weakest. So you would think, like, oh, if someone doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, eats meat sparingly, if they've got all their ducks in a row, they must be the strongest. It's like, no, this is a standard for the weakest. And the reason I think, I feel like I've taught lessons on this, but I'm just going to kind of go, I hate saying stuff like this because it's like I might have said something wrong, but whatever, I'm going to say it anyway. For the weakest of saints, the reason I bring this up is for the weakest of saints. I feel like someone who is purely focused on God doesn't have to worry much about their diet because they're focused on God, the God of Israel, the God who created the earth, the God of our Old Testament, Jesus Christ, our Savior of the New Testament. If you're focused on pleasing that being, diet's a secondary thing. You you feast on the Lord, you feast on the Word, and you eat when you get around to it. And if you eat when you get around to it and you don't worship food, you eat what is probably just available. Grain, rice, We've mentioned meat sparingly, fruits and vegetables from the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And if you focus on the Lord first and worship God first, and put food second, not even second, it's just this thing that you get around to doing when you have time to do it.
Yeah.
Now we got to go back to, it says for the weakest of saints. For someone who is obsessing over food, is obsessing over addictions like alcohol and caffeine and sugar, basically their life is a scramble. As they're trying to get their life back in order, it's like, hey, because you allowed all these substances and food to become your highest priority, let us give you a standard of how to start to rein that in and how you can start to control it.
Yeah.
Makes sense? And so it ends up being for the weakest of saints. So once again, my theory is, and once again, this can all be interpreted to everyone's own opinion. My theory is, if you focus on God and God first, diet is just something over here that you do when you're like, oh man, I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah.
What is available? I'll just eat some beans. Sure, have some beans, go to bed, and focus on goals and agenda and serving your God tomorrow. Oh, I haven't eaten anything. And so we just get to food, get right back to business.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've worshipped food. Like, it's weird, but
and I like
I would
what
rather
you say.
have food than most anything else often.
Yeah. And I love what you say when you were saying to not let those be your masters.
Yeah.
But let God be your master.
Yeah.
But being my size, I left warehouses to go to call centers.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see how if people didn't get their coffee, it ruined their whole day.
Yeah.
And it was just, to me, it was like, man, I'm glad I didn't get addicted to coffee.
Right.
That I don't need it to wake up, or I would use it to blame why my day went the way it did.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a firm believer, and then I'm just going to say one more thing on this. So for my last fight, there's another promised blessing in Doctrine and Covenant section 89, where it says, you would think that the promised blessing would be physical health, which it is, and it says, you shall run and not be weary and walk and not faint. So it's like if you live this law of health, there are some physical promised blessings. Then it also says, I want to say it's just a quick little snippet at the end. It says, run and not be weary, walk and not faint, and hidden treasures of knowledge. It says hidden treasures of knowledge. And that was a surprise to me. And as I was growing up and I read that scripture when I was young, I was like, hidden treasures of knowledge. So what? We eat right and we become smart? It didn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I'll just say it right now. For my last fight, I ended up living the word of wisdom as dictated in Doctrine and Covenant section 89, like to a perfect T. I was doing everything as best as I could imagine it should be done. You know what I mean? And I'm trying not to worship food. I'm trying to only eat food to re-energize my body from the workouts I've been doing.
Yeah.
And eating the right foods based on what I need to prepare myself for the fight, but not letting food lead me or guide me or worship it in any way, shape, or form. So in a weird way, I start putting food as this, like I'm only eating it to continue to give myself what I need for the upcoming fight.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I did that, and I've done this a few times, I fought a lot, and I sometimes fights I take very serious, and it's like I get my diet right on point. And I can promise you, when I do this, weird little brilliant ideas come to my mind. And it's something that I can only say, like, just try it for yourself. Yeah. Like I promise. It's very hard for me to explain.
Don't take my word for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of these things where I have a very hard time explaining exactly what I'm talking about. But if anybody wants to prove me now here with and see if I'm right or if I'm wrong, go read Doctrine and Covenant section 89. There's a diet laid out. Also in Daniel, it talks about pulse is what Daniel eats. Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego with King Nebuchadnezzar. They eat pulse and pulse only. Most biblical scholars believe that pulse is just wholesome food. We're talking grains, rice, beans, fruits, vegetables, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Daniel was on a similar diet. So Doctrine and Covenant section 89 is a little bit more laid out. You have pulse and what scholars think that pulse was from the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. So my challenge would be try it. And what you'll see is you'll be like, oh my gosh, there really is a promised blessing. Sure, the physical health comes, but the brilliant little ideas, and the brilliant little ideas can come in a lot of different ways. Where one time you're like, why am I paying these bills this way? I should go and pay it this way and pay this off first, then do that. And all of a sudden, financially, a lot of problems start to disappear.
Yeah.
Brilliant little ideas like that, where it's like, what have I been? Why did I prioritize this loan over that loan? That was dumb.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, or why did I've been going to work doing this. I should have been going to work starting my day doing this. That's going to make me way more efficient and effective. But you just kind of get into this like monotonous drone type state where you're just like, oh, these projects come in at work and these bills come in, and I just get in this like, I just do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Maybe I'm going on a long tangent, but Doctrine and Covenant section 89. If you don't believe me, just go do it. You can call me. You can say the Church of Jesus Christ is a sham. Joseph Smith didn't know what he's talking about. Whatever. I did it, and I'm convinced that the Doctrine and Covenant section 89 is a true principle that can help people's lives.
I believe that too. And I think it goes back to the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Right. That's in the Garden of Eden is where Adam and Eve, where Heavenly Father was readily available to just drop in and say, "What's up?"
Absolutely.
They didn't because they didn't have burgers, they didn't have sugar,
right,
to keep them away. Well, not, of course, when they were cast out, that was a whole other thing. And just to add a gem to that, if you guys, just to show that we do believe in the Bible, if you guys tie in Isaiah 40, Isaiah 40, the last, I believe it's 5 verses, ties into DNC 89. It's a scripture chain, and it's basically God's diet. So it's crazy. Check it out, Isaiah 40, the last 5 verses, and you'll see the comparisons between the two.
Right. Amazing. Well, is there anything else you want to cover?
Man, I think what was the goals, right? It was at the next 30 pounds, and we'll have another 20 pounds.
When you've lost 30 pounds, let's rehash this out. Okay. Let's do it again. We've lost 30 pounds. He's going to lose 300 pounds, guys. 300 pounds.
Let's go.
Okay.